Hi, everybody. Welcome to our session today. And we're actually going to be doing a recap today of our program, where we are so far, and what is still due and what sessions are still coming. And Milena's going to be very happy because what we've done is we've decided to give you a bonus assignment. And the data that assignment uses is very, very, very relevant to what Milena has been chatting about. So let me actually quickly share my screen and let's get going. Great. So today we're doing a recap of our program. And let's see where we should be with our program. So the major part of this program actually culminates in two projects. The first is the mega assignment, and the other one is a group project for you to do together in your teams. So let's just recap what is required for this mega assignment, which is due the end of May 2022. So that is 31st of May 2022 is the deadline for this project. And it is in Canvas. There's a full write-up of the project and the mega assignment in Canvas, but just at a very, very high level. The requirement is for you to produce a maximum 5-minute video, and in other words, and that video is to cover your consideration for building a habitat on Mars. So yes, maximum 5-minute video. And while we're on the topic of videos, we've been able to judge the videos, and we have 4 winners. Our goal was actually to have 3 winners for the unboxing video challenge. We have 4 because there were 4 actually that stood out. It was just so bold that they stood out from the rest. So what I've been doing is that I've been liaising with Intelsat in terms of the prizes, the rewards for those videos, those unboxing videos. So certainly we're going to know, certainly by next week, we're all going to know how we're going to be handling that. But just so that you all know that we had 4 winners from our group. The other project we're looking at is the group projects, and that is to present. So basically, it's a presentation, as you can see at the bottom of the slide, on the bottom right-hand side, 7 slides. And what it is it's a design concept for a satellite in orbit that supports one of the Sustainable Development Goals. So please, it's only a design concept. You don't have to do a full design. You don't have to build any engineering models or anything like that. It's a design concept. And what it is it's a presentation, which is 7 slides. And those Sustainable Development Goals that you can pick from is number 3, good health and well-being. And we did an assignment that related to good health and well-being, and that was our comfort level and heat index assignment. So that really relates very well to that. And how would you have a satellite that supports that? Well, what can happen, and there actually are satellites that are in orbit around our planet. And what they do is that they actually have very, very sensitive light sensors. I would say to an extent, maybe they're cameras, but they're not necessarily looking for images or pictures. But what they're looking for is that they're looking for particular light wavelengths that would relate to higher temperatures above ground or above ocean. And also what they can pick up is they can pick up humidity levels. So what you could do is you could take what you did during that assignment in terms of comfort levels and where is it comfortable for us as living creatures, whether you're considering animal life, human life, plant life, to have a look at Sustainable Development Goal, good health and well-being. A friend of mine runs a non-profit organization, and what they do is that they help rural farmers. And what they found is that when the comfort level or the heat index is too high, that's a combination of both temperature and humidity, a lot of the livestock, they just stop eating. They stop eating, they stop breeding. So it is actually a huge challenge for us in terms of being able to sustain good health and well-being when it comes to temperature and relative humidity. The next one is Sustainable Development Goal 7, and that relates to affordable and clean energy. Here we touched on an assignment when we did our light, when we did our work, our assignments, and our content and lessons on light, the nature of light as an energy source, as well as just making sure that everything is visible for us. So what you could do is you could certainly relate it, you could relate to that Sustainable Development Goal. And if any of you can see my picture, and if you have your kit in front of you, if you look at the back of the light sensor, you will see it actually says there, affordable and clean energy, goal number 7. And also on the back of the weather sensor, goal number 3, good health and well-being. Sustainable goal number 11, is sustainable cities and communities. This is a very interesting project for those of you who actually really want to go into industry. Also for those of you who want to go into architecture, city planning, civil engineering, fields like that, is how do we ensure that the cities that we have and the communities that we have are sustainable, but also how do we develop sustainable cities and communities. There's at least one of our participants in this program who comes from Abuja in Nigeria. And Abuja is one of the few designed capitals in the world. It was specifically designed to be a country's capital. And so there was a large area of land that was made available. All the infrastructure is there, all the power, the water, the reticulation. It's really, really, really fascinating to visit Abuja. And another one is, for example, Brasilia in Brazil. It's also a designed capital, specifically designed to be a sustainable city and the capital of a country. So very, very interesting projects that you could do there. And how would you use satellite data? Well, what you could do is you could have a look at, you could compare cities that are renowned for being more sustainable than others, and you could actually have a look at what is happening there in terms of pollution, smoke levels, overcrowding, etc. Between those that are known to be sustainable and those that perhaps have just developed over years kind of organically. Sustainable Development Goal 13 is climate action. And that is all about how can we actually have a look at perhaps what can we implement to reverse climate change. And so that would be around climate action. That is a very broad goal. And so for those of you who perhaps have a pet assignment, some kind of a pet project that you want to participate in, then perhaps have a look at Sustainable Development Goal number 13, because this is kind of one of those goals that holds everything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an example. Last year on Mission 1, there was a young woman who's very, very passionate about helping people change their, sorry, there's someone I just need to mute quickly. Great. Sorry about that. And so, yeah, so let me just retrace. Last year, there was a young woman on the program who was very passionate about helping people change their dietary choices to assist with reducing their carbon footprint. In other words, perhaps going more towards a plant-based diet rather than farmed animal meat, because of the carbon footprint. If we compare vegetarian diets to an animal-based protein diet, and that was a really interesting project that she brought to her team that was looking at Sustainable Development Goal 13. And she was able to find the most incredible chart of every food type that is available for us commercially that we could purchase. What is the carbon footprint of that food once it's cooked and it's basically it's on a plate on a table? What is the carbon footprint of the lifetime of that food, from farm to table? And that was really, really interesting. And her team actually ended up winning last year. So they gave the best presentation and they ended up winning and presented their project actually for the UN Sustainable Program, for the UN Development Program. They were able to present that on a global platform late last year. Okay, and then we've also got Sustainable Development Goal number 15, which is life on land. All of us actually do live on land, and I know that because I have everybody's delivery addresses. And we do. We live on land, and it's only 25% of our planet's surface is actually livable land or occupiable. So we really need to make sure that we live sustainably and we are planet conscious while we live on this planet, because there's very little land to go around for many of us. So the deadline actually to select your topic was the 15th of March. So that was actually some time back. I really would like to stress, that was actually 11 days ago. So I really would like to stress that you pick your groups. If you are having a challenge on Canvas joining a group, please let me know, and then what I can do is in the back end, I can assign you to that group. Okay. And then the deliverable, once again, is a team presentation on this design concept, 7 slides. And the deadline for this presentation for these group assignments is also end of May. So what we need from the group is the 7 slides. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be presenting these slides during the month of June, but those slides themselves, the completed slides, are actually due at the end of May. So what are we going to be doing today? Today, what we're going to be doing is, as I've just mentioned, we've discussed the group projects. Once everybody has signed up to a group, which is going to be during next week, it has to happen next week. So please, I really, really implore you to do that today, because next week what we're going to be doing is we're going to be assigning the mentors to those group projects. So late last year, Milena, Brittany, Nico, Colin, myself, we all selected which team we were going to mentor. And so what we're going to be doing is you're going to be meeting your mentors. You're going to be meeting your mentors next week in terms of your group projects. And today what you have is you have a bonus assignment. I'm very concerned that some of you are extremely far behind with your assignments. When I go onto Canvas, I'm seeing big gaps for some of you. And that does concern me. It concerns me that some of you are still not able to see your data on Kibana, and we can't see your data on Kibana either. So Nico did a session on Internet of Things, because these devices that we have, these kits we have, are the things of Internet of Things. Nico did a session on that. I did a session during the week on how to, more sort of advanced tools on how to use Kibana. Please, if any of you are still having challenges connecting to Wi-Fi to internet, you have to let us know, because we're going to have to make a plan. Otherwise, you're going to find that you are demotivated in terms of this project, and you're going to find yourself dropping out. Another thing is that everybody needs to make a contribution to their group project. We cannot have a situation like we had last year. So last year, what we had is that we had 5 groups. We started with 5 groups, and nobody signed up for one of them. So that was okay. So we ended up with 4 groups. And in one of those groups, let's call it group number 4, of the participants, only 2 of the participants were actually contributing at all, and the rest of the members of the group, the other 3 members, were passengers. And this was very infuriating for, of course, for the 2 who were doing all of the work. So what they did is that they reached out to me, and and their plea was, what do we do? We're in this group. There's only 2 of us who are doing all of the work. The other 3, just like, we never hear from them. They never pitch up at sessions. They never pitch up at group meetings. They don't connect their kits. They're ghosting us. What do we do? So what I needed to do is that I needed to have a very, very, very tough conversation with the members in that group. And what we did is we dissolved the group, and those 2 who were doing all of the work, what we did is they signed up for one of the other groups. So actually great for one of them, because they ended up being in the green group, which won the award. So going from a group that was probably going to come stone last, because too few people were participating, to actually ending up being in a winning team. So that is why it's really going to be important, is that you do these assignments. All of the assignments build so that you are able to participate in an enjoyable way, in a stress-free way, in both your mega assignment, your individual mega assignment, as well as the group assignments. So yes, we're going to be going through a bonus assignment. And the reason why it's a bonus assignment is that with a number of you struggling up until now with your dashboards, what I'm doing is that I'm giving you a data set. I'm giving you a data set for you to work on, so that you can demonstrate that if you had collected this data set yourself, you would have been able to complete this assignment yourself. So that is why it's referred to as a bonus. There's also a number of you who have done unbelievably well in your assignments. And what this does is this gives you an opportunity to get over 100% average. So isn't that great? Wow, I wish when I was at university, I'd been able to score over 100%. It would have helped me with my applied maths mark. Anyway, great. So let's, what I'm going to do is, before I carry on, I'd like to see if we have any questions, if we have any comments. I'm opening the floor. Okay, great, then let's continue. So what is to come? To come is we've had our sessions from Brittany, Milena, Colin, Nico, and what we're going to have is going forward, they're going to present a second session for us. So next weekend, next week Saturday is Milena's second session, and during this week I'm gonna have a chat with everybody else, and we're going to schedule for everybody. I can see that there's something in the chat. Okay, so Muhammad is just commenting that it would be great because some of us are still writing exams. Absolutely. Yes, we're right now in exam period. Also, some have got a school break. So it's not only exams and semester tests, etc., but it's also, you know, perhaps a break or a holiday. We also have a number of religious holidays coming up. So yeah, it's we're gonna be taking a break, as you can see. So the next date, so Milena's next session is on the 2nd of April. And then we're going to have a session on the 9th of April. And you can see we have a 4-week break. And I'd really like to see that during those 4 weeks, you get going with your group assignments as well as your individual assignments. And then what we're going to have is we're going to have 4 sessions when we get back, the 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th of May. The 28th of May is our final session where we just wrap everything up. It's 3 days before our deadline for everything. And yes, as I mentioned earlier, our group presentations will be during June 2022. And for those of you who are successful with this program, for those of you who end up getting past the finishing line, in other words, you've been able to submit all of your assignments, plus a bonus assignment. You have submitted your individual assignment, your mega assignment, and you have participated in the group assignments. You will automatically go through to mission 2. And mission 2 is going to be a mission to the International Space Station. We will have a series of workshops relating to that. We will we'll all put together a kit based on an experiment that we would like to conduct on the International Space Station. So this really is going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to get more sensors, way more advanced sensors. Right now, we have the barometer, which Milena's going to be very pleased about. So we're going to be able to measure very accurate atmospheric pressure. We're going to be able to measure carbon dioxide, volatile organic compounds. We have an accelerometer. We also have rechargeable batteries, so we can have a look at power consumption of our payload and our experiments and all of that kind of thing. So it opens it up for a lot of really, really great experiments. So that is what we have. That's what we have to look forward to. Great. Okay, Tafara. Tafara, you have a question? Actually, no, it's a direct question for me. So, okay, no, Tafara, please unmute and share this with everybody. This is very valuable, this comment you have to make, to share.
So last week, you had told us to redo the light intensity and temperature work if you're not happy with yours. And I redid it. So I was wondering if the first mark you got will be the same or it'll change after you redid your experiment.
Yeah, absolutely. Tafara, you're absolutely right. Is that, you know, when we go back to things and we do it again, we find that we get much better results. So yes, thank you very much for doing that, again. I returned a number of the assignments saying, please actually include more data points. You know, come to a conclusion, because there is a relationship between natural light intensity and temperature. There is a relationship, and what I wanted you to do is to find that relationship. What's really important is when we do these experiments, it's not just to check a box, you know, oh, this is great because, you know, what I'm doing is I just have to check a whole bunch of boxes and then I'm going to end up on mission 2. That's not what it's about. What we would really like, is that you actually start enjoying STEM subjects: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Brittany, maybe I actually want you to come in here about how, you know, you experienced a number of frustrations along the way, especially when it came to like troubleshooting and that. But you know, please, if you wouldn't mind, just sharing with us all.
Yeah, no problem. I will say this as a preempt to before I say anything else. My journey was unconventional, as you all know. I started in a similar place as you all did, and as you all are. I've been where you are sitting right now, where I was in the STEM program, and we had these projects, and we were thrust into what seemed at that point in time the most technical thing that I wasn't equipped to deal with. But the interesting thing was, us as humans and us as learners, just in general, we are more equipped than we think we are. We have all these random bits of knowledge that we acquire through our lives, and even if you think your lifespan has been short, you've interacted with so many different individuals, absorbed so much different media, because we have things like the internet and we live in the information age. You have this wealth of knowledge, and all it takes is for you to actually get into the thick of it when you tasked with the project. So, like, for example, the light experiment that you brought up, the photo, I had a similar experience where the first light sensor, the first iteration of the light sensor ever, before the one that you have in front of you, I thought I broke it. And we went through all of this troubleshooting, and I racked my brain, and I was like 15, 16 at the time, so around your age. I was in high school. I didn't do any engineering outside of this program. I just did the normal standard school subjects, and there wasn't anything that I thought was useful going in. But during that process, I learned that, listen, if I put my mind to it and you aren't afraid to ask the questions and reach out to your tutors and reach out to the facilitators who are teaching you on the program and who are there to support you, there's nothing you can't solve and there's nothing you can't achieve. So my experience, you will break stuff a lot. You will constantly feel like you don't know what's happening when in fact you do. And it's something not just in STEM programs and during learning, but also just in STEM in general. As you go out into your further studies and into your career, there's something that a lot of engineering students and people in the field deal with. It's called imposter syndrome. And you feel like you aren't capable, and you have this self-doubt, and you're like, I don't know anything. And that's actually a beautiful thing, because those are people who are self-aware and are seeking knowledge, because you can't know what you don't know until you know how much you don't know. You get to this point where you realize you have so much to learn, and that's kind of where you break your glass ceiling and you realize that life and STEM and everything is just continuous learning, and there's nothing wrong with not knowing what it is in the first place, as long as you take that point and you don't stay there, and you use that to catapult you further, and you learn and you find out what it is that you don't know, you learn it and you carry it forward. Because there's constantly going to be things that you don't know, and there's constantly going to be things that you're going to have to troubleshoot, not just in STEM programs, but in general. Troubleshooting is a skill that you will use everywhere for the rest of your life. And it's okay if you don't get it the first time. It's okay if you don't get it the first 4 times. As long as you eventually get it and you determine to actually get it, there's nothing stopping you. And biggest piece of advice, don't be afraid to ask the questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I myself, I bugged Judy and Bianca to no avail until my questions were answered. And you only learn from that. And sometimes it surprises you. You will ask the questions that your facilitators might not know the answer to. So you spur on your facilitators' learning as well. And some of your input, some of your insights will teach not only your peers, but your facilitators as well. So don't be afraid to share your thoughts, and don't be afraid to ask the questions, because nobody knows everything. We all just trying to all figure it out. And don't be scared to experiment with a kid. Like, again, try everything except the things that we explicitly tell you not to do. So
don't actually put it in water. Yeah.
Yeah. That don't do. Like the blaringly obvious things that will break it, don't. But everything that's not obvious, go for it. Stress test it. You'll only learn from it.
Britain, you're absolutely right. So you started off by saying that you thought you broken the first version of the light sensor. So you have to let everybody. So what happened there?
Okay.
What's the end of that story?
The end of that story is Judy and Bianca and some of the other guys on the technical team figured out that the light sensor sensitivity range wasn't large or vast enough for direct sunlight. So we were doing high altitude balloon launch missions out in Worcester in the Western Cape in South Africa. So it's a very hot, sunny area. And this was in the middle of summer, and we launched this thing, and I was in charge of like getting light data. And after a certain point, I kept hitting the ceiling and I wasn't getting readings. And I thought it was my fault, and asked the questions, and we switched out sensors, and then we realized, listen, it's the actual chip itself just like hit the ceiling. And then Bianca and Judy had to go back to the drawing board, find a different sensor. And that was all because I refused to believe that was the peak ambient light, that was the peak UV that you could get, because it didn't match up to the direct sunlight that we were getting. It was too low. So again, that's what happened. And you'll find that things like that will happen. And it's part of the process. And everything will be iterated and things will be made better. And when you find that things like that happen to you, it's not going to happen very often. But on the off chance that they do, reach out to Judy, reach out to the facilitators, let them know what you're experiencing. Because you never know, you might be the person who finds something that needs improvement, because with all technology, there are ways it can improve. And that's why we have like advancements in not only the kit, but like in things like cell phones and laptops and all of that stuff. It comes from some user somewhere stress testing it unintentionally, and then for that use case, oh, that needs to be changed. So yeah, the kit that you got today, that you have in front of you, that you guys have been using, went through a lot of students and a lot of different people testing it. And the only reason it's so great is because there were people before you who had to figure out, okay, this is maybe not right. So it's up to you guys to possibly, if you want to be the next people, say, okay, this isn't that great. Maybe you can change that. This is my suggestion. And then future people on the program and future users get a better experience. And that, I think, is a beautiful thing.
Brittany, absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, the thing is that this is a story, your story with the light sensor. This is a story that I often tell. Last year, with our previous weather sensor, it looked very, of course, it looked very similar. But what it was, that the sensor itself was measuring temperature, air temperature, relative humidity, as well as atmospheric pressure. And we thought everything was fine until a group of students on the west coast of South Africa, a place near called Saldanha Bay, very, very industrial area. There's a big shipping port there, etc. The students there were doing some experiments and everything else, and they contacted us and they said, when we calculate the altitude, it looks like we're below sea level. Why is that? And we realized that what it was is that the pressure sensor was not accurate, and it was unreliable. And so that is why when we brought up this year, when we updated this weather sensor, we left the barometer off because it wasn't reliable enough. Now the thing is that had it been for those students who were at the coast calculating their altitude and saying, but we're not actually below water, it's giving us a negative reading. If we'd only left it to the people who were inland, who weren't getting a negative altitude output, then we would never have known. So, Brittany, you're absolutely right. And so what it was is with that group of students, they wanted to get funding to continue on the program and start actually participating in the. Actually, it's in a suborbital launch that we have later this year. Those students from that science center and that community, they really wanted to participate and they needed funding for that. And what I did is I wrote a letter of recommendation for that group, and they were awarded the funding and they're now participating in that program. So, and Brittany, I'm not going to tell you how many times when people have phoned me to get a reference on you, how many times I've told that light sensor story. Okay, so that is why go back and redo some of those earlier experiments. Go back and collect good data that you're very comfortable with. So on that topic, before we take a short break, last week after Milena's session, I thought, okay, that's great. This is going to be easy. I took out my phone, opened the weather app, looked at Sunday's weather, took a screenshot, and I thought, that's great. I know that this power bank that I'm using here, this lasts 48 hours. So I put my kit outside in what I thought was the shade and left it there. And then on Monday, I had a look at my data. Data was all over the place. I didn't realize that sometimes there would be a breeze. And so it was, the temperature was dropping, the humidity was dropping. Then there was another occasion where as the sun went down, the sun actually shone directly on it. So the light just blew all out of proportion. The temperature just skyrocketed. So my data, I mean, I was expecting these nice smooth lines, nice sine curves, all beautiful, you know, and it was chaos. I've redone that. In this last week, I have redone that data collection 3 times, every single day. At the end of the day, I take my screenshot of the next day. I collect my data again. I move my kit around. Hopefully, I think yesterday's data was fine. So the reason for that is I'm not interested in just doing Milena's experiment and then like whatever, okay? Yeah, whatever. It kind of like it said the weather was going to be 21 degrees at midday, and I'm not getting that. So what? I'm just going to submit an assignment and check the box. I don't need to submit any assignments. Okay. But what I was fascinated by Milena's topic. And I was like, I want to test this for myself. I want to get this right myself. And I've been going at it until I get it right. And that whole mindset is because I'm an engineer, is because when I needed to design and commission a water treatment plant for people to be able to drink that water and not be poisoned or get ill afterwards, I had to make sure that it was right. I couldn't just, I commission it, I turn this on and the next thing, and oh, look, the water's flowing, check, okay, off I go, next. I couldn't do that. I had to do test after test after test. I had to optimize, I had to go back. Sometimes, I mean, I commissioned probably in my career well over 50 water treatment plants, and every single one of them was different, because that's my speciality. Actually, I did it around the world, and every single one was different. And I never, ever, ever, ever took for granted that because I've got all of this experience, I'm perfect. Okay, I don't have to check my work or whatever. So Milena, yes, you've heard your name. Please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I just want to point out what Judy discovered. It is very important to understand, and that's what we're going to discuss actually next week, that when you measure data at one place, that data fluctuates a lot because of many micro factors, many factors that affect just that place where the data is collected, because we have to take that in consideration when we are doing our project for Mars, our main project, in our small assignments, for not assignments, our group work for the Sustainable Development Goals. Because it is one thing to collect average data, which is going to be the data on your phone, that is actually average prediction, and it's that prediction because of statistical data that's been collected before that, and what you actually discover. And that is what I want to see, or Judy is going to see in your write-ups. How do you explain these inconsistencies, the ones that she just pointed out for her data, the inconsistencies about this breezes that can come up if you're close to the sea or close to a mountain, the inconsistencies about the shade and so on and so on. So you have to look at the time, you have to look at the data, and you have to look at your own experience during that time, what's been happening, and then explain it. That's the main part of that assignment. Thanks, Judy.
Milena, absolutely, yes. Perfect data is impossible to collect, but we need to get as close to what makes sense as possible so we can draw some conclusions. Absolutely. What I'd like us to do now is, if we don't have any more questions for now, I'd like us to take a break. And if we can come back together at the top of the hour, that would be 12 noon Central African time. So that's actually in 13 minutes, if that's okay with everybody, if we could regroup then. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Great. Thank you for that quick little break. And let us now continue with what we're doing today. And great. So what is this bonus assignment that I've been talking about? Those of you who were on the UNDP program last year, you will recognize this. So let me go to the next page. Okay, so here we have it. The bonus assignment is you're going to be analyzing some data that was collected during the total solar eclipse in 2017. So what is a solar eclipse? I'm going to, when I put together the assignment for you, you're going to see that there's a number of very interesting video links to lessons about the solar eclipse, etc. And Reza, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to having a look at this link of yours. Reza, you come up with the most fascinating things. Really, it's great. That's why I look forward to it so much, because I'm sure it's going to be very, very interesting, this link that you've put in the chat for your robotic projects. Okay, so during the total solar eclipse on Monday, August the 21st, 2017, there was a group that collected data using the previous version of this kit. So let's just have a look at that. Okay, so here we go. This is the data that was collected, and Milena, you'll be pleased to note that on the bottom right-hand side over here we have atmospheric pressure. Okay, so so this data was collected in the area of totality. So that means that there was a full shadow that was going across the area. But you're going to learn a lot about this when you go through the assignment and you watch the videos that relate to a total solar eclipse. And so what we can see here is that this is the lux reading. We have relative humidity, we have temperature, and we also have atmospheric pressure. So we can see here that the light was decreasing dramatically. And there are a few little blips here, a few little outliers. Apparently, there were there was very light clouds, you know, a few little spots of clouds. So maybe those were interfering with the data collection a little bit, but at least it wasn't a totally cloudy day. Otherwise, they definitely wouldn't have been able to collect this data. And you can see over here that actually the lux level goes to 0. It was pretty dark, or almost to 0. It was really pretty dark on that day. And then it started to recover. So it started coming out of the eclipse then, and then the power bank ran out of power. So thank goodness it lasted through the period of totality. So what you're going to receive is you're going to receive a link to the dashboard, to this data on Kibana, so that you can save it as your own data set, and you can fiddle around with it. You can do exactly what you would like to do with it. Also, you're going to receive an Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to put this in the assignment. So it's the full spreadsheet of all of the data. So if you aren't well, you should be able to see this dashboard on Kibana if you have access to internet. And you're participating in this Zoom call right now, which means you do have access to internet. So you will be able to see it on a normal browser. But I'm going to be giving you the data set anyway in a spreadsheet. And you can see that the humidity is changing over exactly the same time period. The temperature is changing, and the atmospheric pressure is changing. So what I'm going to be asking you to do is I'm going to be asking you to work out the correlations between the data sets, how strong are the correlations. And then there's just one additional question I'm going to be asking you, and that is, are you detecting any kind of like time lag in any of the data responding? What would that be? And if you were to offset the data by that, does it result in getting a better correlation? And the reason why I bring this up is because one of the assignments that I did, or one of the data collection exercises I did a few years back, I was having a look at, does it still get colder after daybreak? And so what I was looking for is I was looking for sunrise, and then I was looking for how the temperature tracks with sunrise. And under those particular circumstances, I noticed that it took a certain period for the atmosphere around my kit to respond to the change in the sunlight intensity. So I'd like you to have a look at this. So what you can do is you can really start getting into the analysis. You can start getting into stats, mathematical formulas to really delve into this data set to come up with some really interesting findings. So yeah, so this is our bonus assignment that we're going to be doing. And so with that, you'll find it. I'm going to post it later. So with that, I'm just going to stop sharing before we go to this next slide where we discuss the group project. Are there any other questions or comments?
There is nothing in the chat.
Okay, great, Brittany, thank you so much. Okay, good. So quick. And so, yeah, here we have it. Please, yes, sign up for your group, pick a group, and during next week, what I'd like you to do is that I'd like you to conduct your first group meeting. And there you're going to be engaging with each other, and you're going to be getting each other's email addresses and being able to set up your first meeting. So I would like you to have conducted your first meeting by the time we get together next week. I'd also like you to define the roles of your team members. So one role that is fairly clear would be the team leader. But what you may want to do is that you may actually want to have two leaders. And I know this may sound a little bit strange. Last year, the group came first, the group that won the kind of like the challenge, who turned in the best presentation for their group around climate action. What they did is that they actually had two leaders. What they did is that they had one leader who was responsible for the research and and in a way kind of like the data collection, because the brief is a design concept of a satellite that would support the Sustainable Development Goal. And so what they did is that they split the group into two, and they had one subgroup with a leader that was looking at researching what satellites are there nowadays, what data do they collect, how do they support this particular Sustainable Development Goal, really understanding that Sustainable Development Goal, how we're going to hone in on our project, etc., doing all the research behind that, okay? And then the other subgroup with a leader looked at putting together the presentation. So what they did is they said, we've got 7 slides. What are we going to cover on each slide? What is our storyboard? You know, we need to we need to, articulate what is the foundation of our research project, etc., 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 and a conclusion slide, whatever it may have been. So what they did is they worked out the storyboard, and they were responsible for putting together this really spectacular presentation. So, and then they had to, of course, work in conjunction with each other, because they needed to know that the research was going well, because what are we going to present in this slide? And then the team that was looking after the slides, they went and found the best graphics to put in, the best templates to use, all of that kind of thing. So you may want to do that. So you may have different roles for the different team members. You may find that you only want maybe one team member who's going to put together the slides. Maybe there's somebody in your group who's really, really good at putting together slides, presentations. So maybe you want that person to only focus on that, perhaps. Maybe you want somebody who's really, really au fait with satellite technology or whatever, to then actually present to the group to bring everybody else up to speed, that kind of thing. So I'd like you to define the roles of the different team members. Another reason why it's good if everybody has their own role that they're responsible for is that what you can do then is, in good time, while we have that break between the 9th of April and the 7th of May, while we're having that break, then you can actually ascertain, is everybody up to speed? Is everybody delivering to the deadlines? Or are we finding that some areas of our group project are falling behind? Maybe it's because the individual is not able to participate fully. Maybe it's because they've actually been lumped with too much work. And so that work actually needs to be, reassigned and shared with others, whatever it may be. What it does is it allows you enough time to actually mitigate any of the challenges that you may find that you have. So that's around your roles. And then, yes, finally, once again, your deliverable is a team presentation on the design concept of what satellite you would want to build and launch in support of one of these sustainable development goals. So great. So I must say, everyone's been very quiet today. So that is it for today. It's been a short session. And so what I'd like to do is actually ask, are there any questions?
Hi, Judy.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
Very good, thank you.
I was just wondering, is there going to be set dates where the group projects are going to be presented? Because you said that the group assignments are going to be presented during June, and I'm unfortunately writing exams in the month of June. So I just wanted to know, are there going to be set dates? And then I can just plan around it as well.
Actually, what would be better is if all of you let me know which dates are impossible for you during June, so that I know which dates are available. And the reason why I'm saying this is because this is an event that's going to be set up by Intelsat, by their global communications team. And so what I need to do is I need to give them a few dates, and then they're going to work around that. So I would much rather know which dates are impossible for you. If, let's say, for example, the whole of June is impossible for you, then let your team know that you won't be able to be part of the presentation, because it's very important that you are recognized for your contribution by the rest of the team members during the presentation. So yeah, I would really like it if you could all be upfront with your team members and actually really share your availability, what you can bring to the party. And I would like to know if there are any particular dates in June that are impossible for you, so that we don't end up picking one of those dates. So I'm terribly sorry. What I'm doing is that I'm actually throwing the question back at you. So for you to come to us rather and say, this is going to be impossible for me.
Okay, I can do that. That's perfect. Thank you, Judy.
Excellent. Great. Reza is saying, still a very informative session. Now we can prepare ahead of time and not be caught by surprise. Absolutely. Can't wait to see what concepts everybody comes up with. Reza, yes, thank you very much. There's a little bit of an anecdote that I can share with you, and that is that I've been involved in many projects during my life. And when I've been in a position where I lead a project or I'm a project manager, what I do is that I always start off the first meeting. And this is what I say to the team. Brittany's heard this a million times. I always say to the team, the only surprises I like are flowers and chocolates. I don't like surprises. So Reza, you're absolutely right. We don't like being caught by surprise. We always like to be able to plan well ahead. Is there anything else from anybody?
Yeah, hi Judy. I
Hi.
actually had a similar question as Megan about the timing, because we don't get the information as to when we are writing about until like 2 weeks before the exams, but it is usually late May, early June. So
Okay.
when is the latest we can let you know?
Okay, well, I think that based on that, I mean, yeah, I don't expect you to give me like really specific dates, but I think that I think the educational institution should be able to give you, like, as you say, is it going to be like the first half of June? You know, is it going to be the first 3 weeks of June? You know, that kind of thing. Just so that, you know, if you need us to maybe target the last week of June, then just let me know that. That's great. It doesn't have to be specific dates, but just the sooner you can give me a broad brush idea, really the better.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
And
cool.
also, I was looking at the assignments, and there was one that it was posted a while ago, but I hadn't gotten a good look at it. And it talks about the use cases. Am I correct in saying that a use case is basically what you could use that goal for, using the kit?
Definitely, 100%.
Okay.
So that is that was a Nico's assignment,
Yeah.
where we had those 5 sustainable development goals, and to look for an Internet of Things or IoT use case for each one of those. Absolutely. And Nico, that was by design. That was by design that Nico selected exactly those 5 sustainable development goals. Nico, I'm not sure if you want to come in here. We're talking about you. Okay. But yeah, so.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, Nico. Hi. Great.
Apologies, I was battling to get the unmute button.
That's great.
Yeah, certainly. So it's exactly like you said. So the idea is to see using your kit, your Space STEM kit, and what use cases you can use it for within the IoT space. You know, applying Internet of Things principles.
Absolutely. Great. So yeah, and in fact, yeah, so Nico, as you mentioned, completing that assignment will give you a very strong advantage when it comes to the group project. It could also give you a very strong advantage with your individual assignments, because Mars is also a planet. And there's certainly going to be satellite internet on Mars. In fact, it's the plans are there to establish that before we even start building habitats there. So that's great. Ruby, does that answer your questions?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Great, wonderful. Milena, I can see you have your hand up.
Yes. Hi, Judy. My question is this: if there are still people that haven't chosen groups, and other numbers in the groups even up, because maybe there are some sustainable development goals that are going to have bigger groups and some that's going to have nobody or just one person. Are we going to have a chance maybe at the beginning of next week's session to discuss who's in which group? And because we're in different countries, the way the contact between the people in a group is going to go. Maybe we should spend time. I can leave a little bit of time at the end of next week's session to go into chat rooms and actually start like a preliminary contact with the mentor that they're going to get and the people in that group, because I'm pretty sure I don't have the view of who's assigned to which group, but once I looked some time ago, I saw that some groups had 4 or 5 people, some groups had like 1 person or 2 people. We have to even up that at next week's session. That's my suggestion.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. Milena, that's a really good idea. I think that, yeah, I mean, there could be some people where you're very happy with 2 or 3 of the topics. So then just let me know that you would be happy to be in one of those groups if we need to make up the numbers in those groups. So yeah, and then say, Milena, I am reluctant to simply assign people, because if it isn't a topic that they have chosen, then they're not really going to participate fully.
No, that's not my suggestion.
Okay.
My suggestion is we just have to kind of have an overview of what's happening before we start working. Like if everybody is happy where they're at in their situation. That's what I meant.
Oh, okay. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Yes. Let's have some breakaway rooms. Absolutely. At the end of next week's session, let's have some breakaway rooms. As you mentioned, it would be a very good thing for everybody to meet their mentor for that particular topic. And then also for the team to get together and actually, so so do you feel that then maybe we should have that as the first team meeting? I really would like the teams to try to get together themselves without us setting it up first.
No, we can have the breakaway rooms after the break next week. And then every team can just do their own planning and everything.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So by now we all know how to work with Zoom, so they can make their own Zoom calls and everything of that. But it has to start from somewhere.
I agree with you. So yeah, I must say, I still would encourage everybody to have their first group team meeting, just themselves together in their group during this week. And then what we do is then we have those breakaway rooms next week and we meet the mentors. So absolutely. And then we make absolutely sure that everybody's okay with their roles and all of that kind of thing. And then we start really brainstorming the topic itself, etc. Milena, yeah, I really like that. I'll set that up. I'll set up the breakaway rooms. That's wonderful. Okay, so Megan, I'm going to go to you next. I just want to answer Grace's question. Are we only looking at the census we have for the IoT assignment? Not necessarily. Any use case would be absolutely great. You don't only have to look at the limited number of sensors that you have. Yeah, so Megan, over to you, please.
Hi, Judy. I was just wondering about the assignment with the power consumption, the one that Colin had set up. Are we going to be able to get feedback after part 1 before we start with part 2, or are we going to do part 1 and then part 2 and then get feedback?
So in other words, are the assignments going to be graded before the next session?
Yes.
Yes. The assignments are going to be graded before the next session, and so you are going to get feedback. Yeah, and that applies to everybody's assignments. That applies to Nico's assignments, Brittany's, Valena's as well. Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you, Judy.
Absolutely. That's great. Tafara, please go ahead.
Hi, I want you to ask a simple question. What is the role of the mentors in the group project?
Okay. So what it is that Brittany, Nico, Malena, Colin, and I, we have all volunteered to support one of the topic areas, one of those sustainable development goals, in terms of being a support for the team. Our role is not to lead the team. Our role is merely to be kind of a sounding board, and to assist the teams in terms of being able to achieve the best outcome by the deadline. So what you may find is that you're limited, for example, to, I'm thinking out loud, right? You may find we're limited to 7 slides, and we've got 9 slides, you know, and then what you could do is you could ask your mentor, how do we actually kind of trim this thing down? Should we actually leave certain topics off? Should we focus it more? That kind of thing. What you also, maybe another question you may have for the mentor is that you've got an idea, you've got like a design concept, and that's great. And you run it past the mentor, and maybe the mentor feels that it's way too abstract as a concept, that it would be very difficult to take that and actually build it into a satellite. So, you know, maybe what you'd need to do is like define it a lot better, and maybe actually narrow it down a lot more, something like that. So yeah, so the mentors are there as a sounding board. The mentors are there to bring their experience of all the experience that they've had over the years doing similar types of things and having to put together similar types of projects, so that they can assist the team. You also may find that maybe you've got some kind of conflict that needs to be resolved within the team, because it's, you know, somebody wants the topic to go this way and another person wants the topic to go that way, and it's creating a bit of havoc in the team. And so that's also a good time to involve the mentor, so that the mentor can actually then kind of like get involved and facilitate a great outcome, a win-win outcome for that kind of thing. Tafara, I'm sorry, it's warm and fuzzy. Okay, the whole job of the mentor is very, very, very fuzzy. It's actually all about people. It's like most things in life, actually, is 90% about people and effective communication, and only 10% is like technical. And so that is really the role of the mentor, is to make sure that it's all gelling properly, and that we're there. You feel that you have a safety net. We haven't just abandoned you and given you a deadline, and we're not getting involved. Tafara, does that help?
Yes, thank you so much. This is very clear.
Absolutely. And I have to say, in a few years' time, you're going to find that you're going to be called upon. A number of you will be called upon to be mentors. You know, so it's a great learning opportunity to, you know, observe the mentor and, you know, how does this whole thing work, etc. Because as you progress in your career and in your studies, etc., you're going to find that you're mentoring other people. So it's a very nice way to to do it. Reza, yes, absolutely, a little bit like a human resources manager, but only the nice side. Only the nice side. You don't have to worry about payroll and salaries. You're not going to be firing anybody. You're not going to be hiring anybody. Only the nice side. Only the nice people side. Okay, who else has their hand up? Okay, so Kelly, do you want to unmute and ask a question?
Hi everyone.
Hi.
I'm sorry to take you back, but I was wondering if you could elaborate more on the design concept. Is it for a satellite that we could suggest that we could build, or something else, like maybe sensors or something else?
Okay. Kelly, yes, thank you for that question. What I'd like to do is I'm going to share my screen again, and then I'm actually going to just go back to that slide. Just go back to that. Okay. The output of the group assignment is a 7-slide presentation of a design concept for a satellite in orbit that supports one of those sustainable development goals that's listed. Okay, so let's actually break that down a little bit. Let's break that into its parts. Yes, it is. It's only a design concept. In terms of a design concept, yeah, we're not looking for exactly probably what equipment you would use, like in terms of like what serial number or what part number, etc. We are definitely in a design concept. What it is you're going to define the job that the satellite's going to do. Let's put it that way. And so let's say the job of the satellite is going to be to collect data, or to observe something, or to assist with communication, whatever it is. Based on the job that it's going to do, then you could, if it involved collecting data or maybe observing, in other words, it was collecting images or light data or something like that, then you would include sensors. Then you would say, we want a sensor that could collect this data, but you don't have to specify that exact sensor, if you see what I mean. What you could do is you could say, what we want to do is we want to have an onboard processor that would maybe recognize images, etc. You don't have to say, we're going to use an ESP32, blah, 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 or a Raspberry Pi version 4. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to actually talk about the parts themselves. You only have to talk about the job that it's going to do. For a satellite in orbit, okay, so it's a satellite that's going to be orbiting the planet. So what you can do is you can think about, Google it, please. Have a look at what different satellites are orbiting the planet and what their jobs are. So what I'm going to do is I'll give you an example, and probably what I should do is let me see if I can find a link to an article on it. So late December last year, the South African government launched a constellation of 3 satellites that are in orbit, and their role is to monitor the coastline of Africa, essentially to detect people with boats behaving badly. Okay, so it's to detect illegal fishing, piracy, smuggling, maybe boats in distress, that kind of thing. Okay, also oil spills. You know, maybe what they've been doing is that they've been pumping out the bilges or pumping out the fuel tanks or whatever it is and there's an oil slick that's over the horizon so nobody can see it, but it can definitely be seen by the satellites. Okay, so that's the job of those satellites. Okay, the design concept for those satellites is that what they do is that they detect electromagnetic signals. Okay, so for example, if a motor is running, it sends off an electromagnetic signal. If there's any circuit that's running, it's going to send off some kind of electromagnetic pulse. And then what they do is that they compare that to the transponder information that all the Coast Guards have. So if you are operating a boat responsibly, you will have a transponder on it and you have your transponder turned on. But when people they've decided they're going to behave badly, they turn off the transponder. Okay, so the Coast Guard doesn't know that they're there. However, the satellite knows that they're there because they are going to be running some kind of engine, because there's absolutely no way that they're going to have a sailboat that's got nothing that runs electricity. Okay, because also, I mean, if you think about it, somebody's going to have their mobile phone on. So that is the design concept. The design concept would be, we want to be able to detect shipping activity that is undocumented or that is not available to the Coast Guards because the transponders are off. How are we going to do that? We're going to do that by detecting electromagnetic signals. So that would be a design concept. So it's the job it's going to do, and how is it going to do that job? And so, yes, it's a satellite that's in orbit, and it needs to support one of these sustainable development goals. I hope that helps. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Okay, so Nico, you have your hand up, please.
Yes, Judy, I just want to reiterate actually what you said now, and maybe just summarize it if I may. You know, typically in my world as a project manager with each project, so these tasks you can also see as projects, as mini projects. You know, there's always the question initially is what is it that you want to do, and then how you're going to do it. So I'm oversimplifying it, but you know, when you start brainstorming is to, for argument's sake, say you want to focus on social development or sustainable development goal for clean energy. You would say, what is it that you want to do? So obviously clean energy. It could be solar, for instance. So then you identify the what part, and then start brainstorming is how will you do it? If I may, for argument's sake, use a solar panel. So I don't know if that's going to help. So think of the what and then the how to get to the end result. Thanks, Steve.
Great, Nico. Thank you very much. I was wondering, Karine, you have a question. I was wondering if your question's been answered or not. If you'd like to unmute. Okay, Karina said that yes, a question has been answered, and that question was, Judy, does this also apply for the IoT use case experiment? So we don't really have to go into detail on what types of sensors we're using, only the job that they will do. Absolutely, we're only interested in the job that they will do. Great. With that, if there's nothing else, I'd like to end today's session. And thank you to everybody. I'm looking forward to Milena's session next week and learning a lot more about what goes on in the air realm.